The show will start in 1 minute. The show is about to start in...
Hemos llegado muy lejos desde 2005, desde una idea atrevida a un movimiento global, desde cero a más de 300 millones de dólares en ingresos. Pero en el panorama general, esto no ha hecho más que empezar. El potencial es enorme. En las próximas décadas, el mercado de omega 3 tendrá un valor de unos 200.000 millones de dólares. En cada categoría, siempre hay un actor que toma la delantera y se adueña del terreno. ¿Quién será el dueño de la nutrición personalizada basada en pruebas? Habrá muchos factores en juego, pero hay algo que destaca por encima del resto: la ambición. La ambición de Cincino es enorme. Esperamos 1.000 millones de dólares en ventas en los próximos 3 o 4 años, 20 millones de clientes para 2035, 100 millones de clientes para 2050. Pero las cifras por sí solas no lo conseguirán. Su ambición sí. Su estado de ánimo, su decisión de construir una vida y el negocio que antes solo imaginaba. Su deseo de mejorar la salud de las personas, su disciplina para presentarse cada día, sin excepción, incluso cuando se pone difícil, especialmente cuando es difícil. La ambición nos trajo aquí, la ambición nos llevará allí.
Good evening, everybody. Buenas noches a todo el mundo. Bonsoir, buenas noches en portugués y buonasera en italiano. Y bueno, es un placer estar aquí con todos vosotros. It's a pleasure to be with all of you here, and we have somebody very special with us tonight. I'm really excited because it's an honor, Hilde, to have you with us and spend a Sunday evening that I know you have some kids to be with us and really share with us all your knowledge, all your experience, your vision. So I just want to thank you for being with us, spending the time with us, and really you're inspiration. And all the ladies say all the time, when we get old, we want to be like you. so thank you so much for being here with you. And let's start. Thank you so much, Hilde.
Thank you so much, Miriam. It is truly my honor and privilege to log on and be together with you on your team meeting here this evening. Actually, about a week ago, we came home from Bali, where we had our director trip. We were supposed to be about 850 people. It was about 650 that was actually there. Unfortunately, because of the world situation, there was a lot of people who got their flights canceled. And I know that there was also some people from this group that happened to. So we greatly missed you, for those of you that were not there. But it was an amazing trip. And I would really strongly encourage you that this should be on your agenda. You know, you can still qualify by the end of October to next year's director trip. And it's not just, you know, an incentive trip, a 5-star luxury kind of resort experience, even though that is very nice in itself. You know, it's the fellowship, it's the event, it's the conference, it's the feeling, it's the relationship building between lines where you get inspiration beyond what you maybe, you know, come there for that really enable you to go to a whole nother level. Now, it's crazy how time flies. We are already here at the end of quarter 1. And I literally feel that we just started this year, there's been so many different things happening. But if you were like most people, when you entered into 2026, you probably entered with a lot of energy, motivation, and bold intentions, right? Maybe you made some goals. Hopefully you did set some goals for yourself. Maybe you even wrote down some plans. And maybe you even said to yourself, this is the year where everything is going to change. And maybe it did, right? And in that case, I applaud you. But then for some people, work got busy. Maybe your day job demanded more attention, or life in general demanded more. And maybe some of those urgent things started to compete with more important things. So therefore, I think that at this specific timing, it's a good timing to ask yourself, am I on track? Or did my plans quietly slip to the side? Not because you failed, not because you didn't want it badly enough, but because intention alone does not survive without structure. So my friends, today, Miriam has actually asked me to dig into some basics. So it's going to be some repetition, from my angle, but it's still some of those things that I really do believe if you master the basics well, there is basically no limit to how big of a business you can build. Now, before touching on that, I just want to say that I respect Miriam and Bosch so much. What they've created together with the leaders is really exceptional. And to also see how this development, has gone during the past years has really been so much joy. We're so happy when we managed, to get you into our company. I know it was quite a transition, but what you've managed to create, not just in Spain, but all over, so many countries growing now. It's truly worth a huge round of applause. And we are so, so honored to have you with us on this journey. Now, I'm probably going to touch a little bit on vision here today as well, because every single time when I speak, I got to talk about our vision, because I really do believe that without a clear direction, you perish. But anyway, last year, we celebrated our 20th anniversary. And talking about that time flies fast, 20 years later, I'm here. It's truly been crazy, because I still feel, that we just got started because we have so big ambitions. But at the same time, it also brings me to the first point that I really want you to jot down, that most people, they have a tendency to overestimate what they can accomplish short term, and then they underestimate what they can actually accomplish long term. Now, I get inspired by a lot of people, a lot of companies, but actually some of the companies that inspire me, probably a lot of other people as well, is the big seven. If we look at Microsoft and Apple, they got started in the middle of the 70s. Then you had NVIDIA getting started in 93. Amazon got started in 94. Alphabet, or Google, in reality, Alphabet is Google, right? Got started in 98. Then we have Tesla. Everyone knows about Tesla, right? Got started in 2003. And then Facebook got started in 2004. Now, most people probably didn't see what the founders saw or what the core group saw. But because they stayed true to their vision, their mission, and their values, well, today they're dominating their industries. Now, I wish I could say, well, I compare our company with the big seven. Well, we do have some big ambitions, right? But I think that my point is really this. I think that we live in a world where we want everything, preferably yesterday, right? We're impatient. And I'm one of those impatient people myself, I want things to happen fast, right? But if you're really going to build something of significance, you got to give yourself some time as well. Now, that does not necessarily mean that you can't create huge results with Senzino quite short term as well. But I think that especially when we look at our big, bold, audacious goal of reaching 100 million customers, we understand it's going to take some time. Now, a lot of people probably do believe that we're crazy, but we truly, genuinely believe that guest-based nutrition is the best. Test-based nutrition is really the future. Now, the problem today is that it's so easy to go into a start and stop rhythm. Now, I don't know about you, but have you ever started a diet plan in your life? And everyone start out well, right? And then there is something that is a little bit tempting, or maybe you've been really good, right? And you reward yourself and you're back to scratch. I don't know if it's happened to you, but it's for sure happened to me sometimes, right? Now, another example could be maybe you have started a savings plan and you're really good, you're following a path, and then there is an unexpected bill or something that you just need, and then you're back to scratch. Now you could take an investment plan, right? So you invest and you stay there and you're focused on continuing your path, but then maybe the share price drops and you get filled with fear, so you pull out. And I think that the same very often can easily happen in the business, right? You have a very strong month and then maybe you have a little bit of a slower season. Now, the key, however, to really build something big over time is to stay true to doing the activities that work over time. And I think that when a lot of people ask Orion and myself, how have you managed to get to the point where you are today? I don't really believe, that we are more talented than other people. I can for sure say that I was for sure not a talent when I got started with this profession. Same with Orion, right? But we stayed true to some principles. We stayed true to some work-related habits that helped us over time. Now, when I look back 25 years, and I look at all of the different things that has happened during the past 25 years, I really get confident about where we're going. Because there are so many different things that simply did not exist 25 years ago that I today basically use every single day. Now, let me just give you a short list. My smartphone, social media, you can say my Zoom account. We're sitting on the Zoom account today. I remember when I got started with this profession, and I feel a little old when I'm talking about it. It was the year 2000, and I was still faxing my contracts in to the company. This was not Senzino back then, as you know. Senzino got started in 2005. But I remember I was working with a gal who said, I'm registering my contracts online now. I think that was like in 2001. And I said to her, I think that is, why should you do that? Use the fax machine, right? So there is so many different things that simply didn't exist 25 years ago that we use it every single day. And that is one of the reasons why I do believe that 25 years into the future, nobody will shop food or think about nutrition the way most people do today. We believe that everything will be tested, everything will be measured, everything will be documented, and you simply won't allow yourself to live a life where you don't know what your body needs to stay healthy, live longer, and perform well. Now, we do recognize that 25 years or 24 years into the future, talking about our 2050 goal, is a long time. But we truly do believe that during this season, there is going to be a revolution within this specific industry. Now, in any new trend that is formed, there is usually one company, one brand that takes 20% of the market. Now, Apple is the brand of smartphone. Facebook is the brand of social media. YouTube is the brand for how we watch videos online. Zoom is the brand for video conferencing. Netflix is the brand for how we get entertained. Tesla is the brand for electric cars. And there will be a brand who will own 20% of the market share within test-based nutrition. And as you probably can understand, we will fight, we will work like crazy to ensure that Zinzino will be that brand. Now, to build something of significance, again, we got to look at what are we doing every day. And I really do believe that the success of this business is really found in the fundamentals. It's really found in what we do on a daily basis. And one of the questions that maybe you've heard me say or ask before, but I think is very worth repeating, is what makes a good communicator? Now, there is a lot of different things that are important in communication. Especially considered, in the world we live in today with the AI world. I do believe that communication is going to be one of those things that is really going to be critical, in the years ahead. Now, enthusiasm could be important, right? Clarity could be important. Adaptability, facial expression, body language, respect, empathy. Now, there is a lot of different things that are important in communication, but I still do believe this, that if you fail to ask questions when you're sitting with someone doing a presentation, you will always fall short in that meeting. Now, people start to work with Zinzino because of various reasons. Some people want extra money, right? So you want an extra income. Other people are genuinely interested in health and they want to spread the message about preventative health and test-based nutrition. Some people, they want a challenge, right? Or they're genuinely interested in personal development. They want to be a part of a community that is focusing on personal and professional growth. And some people, they basically want a career where they can build their business around their life instead of their life around their business. Now, one of the things that I usually say to the people that I work close with is that a customer is normally happy immediately when they get started with the product. However, a partner will normally first be happy when they start to get paid, because it boils down to what is your expectation. Now, that is also one of the reasons why I truly do believe that the minute you get someone new started on your team, your job is to help them through the fast start. Your job is to onboard them as fast as possible so that they get confident about how do they approach people, new people, what do they say, how do they present, what help can they expect. Now, I'm not going to do a comp plan training here today, but the way I see it is that often the income level in Zinzino is usually found in 5 different steps. Now, step number 1 is usually when you earn between 0 and 10,000 euros a year. And I would say that this is one of the reasons why we are an attractive alternative for a lot of people out there, because, it doesn't necessarily need, well, surely you need to prioritize the work. You need to be consistent in what you do. to get to those 10,000, but you can do it on the side of your work, your day job, you can do it at your own convenience. So as long as you're just a little bit consistent in what you do, you can easily build to this level. And at this level, you're usually averaging between A team and pro team. So between 25 customers and 50 customers, and you're usually an executive. Now, it's not necessarily so that it needs a revolutionary change in your life to make it happen. You just need to be consistent in doing certain activities over time. Now, step number 2 is when you earn between 10,000 and 50,000 euros a year. And this is usually when you're averaging between platinum and director. Now, often I actually say that this is sometimes one of the hardest levels to be at. And you probably want an explanation for why, right? But it's basically because, first of all, it's because of 2 reasons. First of all, you are usually the one who are earning the largest percentage of the volume being created in your team, which basically means that most likely you are probably the most competent person in your team as well. So you're probably going to feel that you're a little stretched, because at this point, there is a lot of people who's still not full-time yet working with Senzino. So which actually means that you got to do your day job, and then you're going to run this business, right? And you're going to feel a little stretched because you feel that, well, if the contract is going to be signed, I need to be a little bit everywhere. However, if you just stay consistent and you focus on duplication and you focus on what works, at one point you leverage over to step number 3. Now at step number 3, this is where you earn between 50,000 and 100,000 euros a year. So you're averaging here between a director and a crown. Now, this is where you're going to feel that you get more traction, because here there's going to be more people who's actually leveling up in income, who's earning more money. Maybe there is a few more people who are now full-time together with you, which means that there is a lot more hours in the field working, doing the different activities that are actually giving the result. So it's going to feel easier, to pull the load at this point. And then at step number 4, you're between 100,000, and I know that this is a huge gap, 100,000 and €1 million a year. This is actually where you are between a crown and an elite president. And I know it's a huge stretch there as well, right? But it's just, to kind of give you the feel of what happens when duplication really starts to flow, when you maybe start to build another line and another line, or you get more enrollments line working for you. And one of the reasons why a lot of people find this opportunity so extraordinarily attractive is that there is basically no limit to how far you can go. Now at step number 5, you're for sure global president. You can add as many stars as you want, but it gives you a different opportunity to actually build a real business where you also get the leverage and the freedom that you not necessarily will get in a normal traditional type of business. So you could say that to go through all of these levels doesn't happen by coincidence. It happens by effort, and it happens by knowing which skills that you need to learn, right? Or learning the skills. Now, in any kind of profession that you are going to do, there are some basic skills. And like I said in the beginning, when I got started with this profession, I was not a natural at all, right? There was so many different things that I had to learn. And actually, about 4 months into my journey, I'm not going to go too much into my story here, but about 4 months into my journey, I had decided I'm not going to do this anymore because I was so bad, to say it this way. But I understood, but I still had the hunger, right? And I kind of, as a little bit of a lost gasp of air at that point, I made a pro and con list, whether or not I should continue. Now, my conclusion surely landed on the pro list, but I understood that if I was going to have any chance succeeding with this business, model, I had to be my number one project. There was a lot of different things I had to learn. Now, for those of you that didn't have not heard necessarily my story, I actually at that point decided on some habits to hold myself accountable to. And you can basically summarize them into three things. Number one, I decided I would study and do simultaneously. I will read 10 pages as a minimum every day to kind of get the theoretical skill. And then I will do 10 meetings every week. So I decided to do both. Number two, I said, I'm going to give myself some time to be knowledgeable in this area. So I will basically give myself 2 to 4 years to really understand this and to get to know these skills. And then number three, this is very important. I think we all have some voices inside of our head that sometimes question, or we question ourselves, do you have what it takes? Can I do this? No, it's just 9 days of the month left. Can I really do my goal this month? And I decided, I'm not going to listen to those voices. I'm going to stick to my plan. Now, talking about that, it's just 9 days of this month left. I can say that normally what we call half time is usually the 23rd. Tomorrow is the 23rd. So if you have a specific goal this month and you're like, oh, I feel that I'm lagging, I'm behind, you can expect that tomorrow is actually half time. So you want to pump it up. This is not the time to slow down. This is the time to upper the speed. Now, the 7 skills that we all got to master in this profession are the following. We got to, number 1, find some prospects to talk to. And this is basically getting to know people and figuring out if they're open. Now, everyone has a list on their own that they already know. We're going to get into that shortly. But the key is here, those 2 things. Find people to talk to, find out if they're open. Number 2, we got to invite them to a meeting. Number 3, we got to present the opportunity or the product to them. And there is a lot of different things that I think is important here. But going back to what I said in the beginning, that communication starts with asking questions. This is key. This is one of the most fundamental keys that you got to master to do this business well. Now, I usually say that you can't close the door that is not open yet. And the key to have good presentations is to figure out someone's need. So in a presentation, again, you want to focus on the relationship, but then your second task is to find out what are their needs. Now, people usually move because of one out of 2 reasons. They either move away from pain or towards pleasure. Now, a monologue makes people drift away in their own thoughts. Pressure makes people defensive. However, curiosity, when you ask questions, people open up. So what can those questions be as an example? Well, it could be, have you ever thought about doing something else? What made you open to take a look now? Now, if you were going to change something within the upcoming 6 to 12 months, what would it be? Now, what are more important for you? Is it money, time, purpose, or growth? Or maybe one of the most important ones, what would happen if nothing changes in your life now, right? So the point is you want to ask questions, and it's not necessarily that these are the right questions to ask in any kind of setting, but the better you are at asking questions, the easier it will be to present the product or the business. And maybe my questions here were more centered towards the business. Now, number 4 is also very important. You want to follow up. And sometimes one of the things that I hear is that people say, well, you know what, I've been speaking with so many people already on my list, and I don't know who I'm going to speak with. Well, first of all, there is always people to speak with. But I also do believe that it's important that the best people that you will enroll doesn't necessarily come as the first approach. Now, some of the best people that we've enrolled in the business over the years, we've been following up on again and again and again and again. And I'm not talking about in a chasey, a hunting kind of way. I'm talking about more in a polite, respectful, building relationship way. Now, 44%, this is statistics, general sales statistics, okay? So 44% will usually only ask someone one time. 22% will follow up a second time. 14% will follow up a third time. 12% will follow up a fourth time, which leaves us with that only 8% will follow up 5 or more times. Now, the reason why this statistic is very important is that we also do know that 60 to 80% will normally decline an offer 4 times before they say yes. Now, this is one of the reasons why I normally say that 80% will usually end up with 8% will usually end up with 80% of the result, because they're actually willing to follow up over time. And I know this, from my personal life as well. Take fashion as an example. There's been so many different things, that I've said, I'm never going to wear those jeans. I'm never going to wear a suit like that. And then 2 years go by, maybe 3 years go by, and I'm like, oh, I'm wearing the same jeans, that I said never ever, right? So I think that it really boils down to exposure. People need to be exposed over time. And when you are exposing people over time, well, suddenly timing is perfect. Another example that I use for myself is that I've been flying a lot through my career. Every time when I'm out flying, there is a flight attendant coming and asking, would you like coffee? Would you like tea? Would you like coffee, tea? And very often, I say yes to coffee and no to tea. And other times, it's the opposite. And sometimes I decline. And sometimes even, I've said no the first time, but then they ask a second time. And, I think about it. I'm like, yeah, actually now I fancy tea, right? So people change their minds. And your job is to continue to approach people over time. Number 5, you want to learn the skill how to close. And again, this is one of the most important skills, because sometimes I see people, they do a perfect invitation. They do a picture perfect presentation. But then, when it comes to actually asking the question, they get a little scared. They pull out and they're like, oh, they talk people out of it, right? Now, I've never been a hard closer myself. I'm usually just a soft closer. I tend to go back to asking questions, right? And some of the questions I would maybe ask is, are you more interested in the product or the business? And then I'm silent. And I'm waiting for their response. And I think that very often, a lot of people, they get a little stressed when people are actually, taking a few seconds, to think about it before they respond. But be silent. Be okay being silent, right? Now, the other question I would maybe ask is, what did you like the most? And then I'm that kind of person that like to know, if I say yes to something, I need to know what is next. So I like to kind of prepare people for what is next. So maybe that could be, if you were to get started, well, we would always do an onboarding meeting where we make some plans. I give you some exact assignments, and I teach you how to do that so that you don't feel, uncomfortable in the beginning, so that you have a clear plan of action in the beginning. Now, if you were to get started, what would be important for you? And then I'm waiting for their response. Now, if they say, and here I know if they're ready to get started right away, or, if I need to book a follow through, but if I understand they're basically ready, I would say, let me walk you through the options. About half of our partners would normally start with what we call the Ultimate Partner Kit. Now, this kit is valued about €3,500, but since you get started now as a partner, you get it for €1,198, which basically means that you're saving €2,300. Now, what I like the most about this kit is that it includes 10 tests, so it's going to be a lot easier for you to get the 10 first customers. And then it includes a variety of different products, so you really can get acquainted with the different products that you're going to recommend. But one of the best parts about this kit is that it also comes with a refund. So if we go out together and we get 25 customer points, it's not actually individual 25 customers. It could be 10 people who have 2 or 3 products on auto order, right? On a standing order, monthly order, then you will actually get those €1,200 refunded. Now, we need to do that within the upcoming 12 months, but I'm sure, if we're going to work together, we're probably going to make a plan of doing it faster. Now, what would be the better solution for you? Now, there is not necessarily one size fits all. There is different kits, and you're never going to hear me say that there is only one way to get started with Zinzino. I think that I'm very proud that we have different alternatives, but, I also do feel that the more commitment, the more engagement after, right? So I think that knowing how to position value clearly is very important in what we do. Now, number 6, you want to help people get started well, and then you want to learn how to promote the system. Now, I think that once a quarter, it's very smart to really give yourself a score between 1 and 10 on those 10 areas, 7 areas, right? Now, if you are, let's say you feel that you are 2 on finding prospects, you don't really know who you're going to speak with, well, at least I have identified I am a 2 here, right? And you can start to acquire knowledge on actually becoming better in this area. And I do believe that if you can say that you're at least a 7 on these 7 areas, well, most likely you're probably an income level number 3 or above that I showed you earlier in Zinzino. Now, I know that we just have a few minutes left of this meeting, so I'm going to keep it short here. But I think that, understanding that the pipeline has different parts. And this is, similar to any other skill. It's like riding a bicycle. You need to learn the different parts. It's really about the 4 main areas: creating prospects, presenting to prospects, educating your partners, and then duplicating. Now, in most of the cases, I find that there is usually 3 bottlenecks: contacting, short presentation, and then decision meeting is very often, the different 3 parts that sometimes in the beginning, a lot of people struggle with. However, understanding that this is basic skills that everyone can learn is important. Now, no matter what kind of question you have, there is always someone who can get help or that can help you along the way. Now, going back to, the prospecting, normally we all you can divide your contact list into 3 parts: your hot list, your cold list, your hot list, your warm list, and your cold list. Now, your hot list is surely the ones that you know very well from before, right? It's your family, it's your close friends, it's the people that you spend the majority of your time with. Now, your warm list is everyone that you would say hi to if you met them, that you basically know the name of. Now, the cold list is everyone that you don't know yet. And very often I find that there is a lot of people who get very stressed in the beginning of who should I contact? If if these 3 people are not responding to my messages, who should I then contact? Well, there is like 8 billion people on this planet. There are so many different ways, to do this. And there is not necessarily, again, one size fits all. In Express Start, you find a variety of different ways to contact people. You can, maybe one way could be, I'm part of a team who's launching global health brand in Spain, and I just wanted to check, would you be open to take a look? No problem if not, just wanted to check, There is not necessarily a one size fits all, but you got to master your way of approaching people. And by doing it repetitively over time, you will be the expert. Now, I'm going to jump over here because I'm out of time here. But the key message that I want you to understand is that everything is a skill. Now, when you first started to cook egg, it was a skill, right? When you first started to learn how to make pancakes, it was a skill. And there is a recipe to every skill, and there is always knowledge that can be acquired. Now, when we talk about what is going to happen here during the upcoming months, the upcoming 9 months, we have quite big ambitions in Zinzino. Our aim is that we are going to hit, our plan is that we're going to bring in 100,000 new partners into the company. 1 million new subscriptions. That is the goal this year. We plan to help 10,000 new people to 25 customers. We plan to bring 5,000 people to the level of executive, 1,200 to diamond, 300 to crown, and I do believe also that we will probably see 20 plus presidents being born into Zinzino, right? Now, over these years that I've had the pleasure of building Zinzino together with the amazing team, there has been a lot of lessons learned. But actually last year I was reflecting a lot on what was the most important lessons that I brought with me. And I think that 3 of the most important lessons is this: the power of vision, the power of belief, and the power of leadership. Vision is never about describing what is. Now, it's never about you describing your current situation. It's about you having the guts and the boldness to declare what you believe will be the future. Now, there's a lot of reason, or a lot of people who say, well, how can I, say something that bold, grand, for myself? Well, I do believe that there is a power in your, by the words that you speak. Your words that you speak to yourself, to the people that you have around you, holds power. People follow leaders who know where they are going. So you got to be bold. You got to be brave if you're going to do something, and if you're going to are serious about transforming your life. And that starts with looking into the future for yourself. Now, the power of belief. Now, a lot of people believe that it's numbers that build momentum. I do believe that it's belief that builds momentum. Now, there's been numerous times during my career where I had to borrow someone else's belief in me to be able to believe in myself. And I think that the majority of the leaders in Zinzino would say that as well. There's been numerous times where they had to borrow someone else's belief in them for them to continue, right? So your belief in your team will always set the bar for how far they can go. People need people around them to believe in them. And then number 3, the power of leadership. Now, leadership is basically the bridge between vision and reality. And it's the daily choice to see beyond whatever obstacle that you have around you, and lift enough other people so that they can see the same picture as you. Now, what I can say is that I am so confident about what we're going to create together in the upcoming months. I know the power of Miriam. I know what a fighter she is. I know what a visionary she is. And what I do know for sure is that we're going to create so many exceptional victory stories here. Now, again, we have the best 9 days of the month left. We have a cab campaign. And I usually say to our leaders, you know, in Zanzino, I say, when I say hot, hot, Super Bowl was just in the United States, right? I want everyone to shout cab, because cab is how you actually build volume in your business. It's how you get your team to grow. And we have the mini cab campaign. We have the small cab campaign where everyone can earn a lot more. So we want to make sure that by Wednesday, we get as many as possible to qualify for that. And then we have our ECBX, right, month. So I do know that there are big ambitions here. And I really urge you, this is the time to step up the pace. I've seen people create more volume during these 9 days than they've done the entire month. I've seen people create more volume in 5 days than they've done in their entire month as well. And also on the higher ranks. So I'm absolutely confident that it's going to be a victorious month. And I am so grateful for each and every one of you. We could not do this without you. It's together as a team, and greatly appreciative for each and every one of you. So with that, let's create the most magical closing of March. And then I give the word over to you, Miriam.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Hilde. You're an amazing inspiration, and we're going to go for it. We're going to go for it. We're going to kill it this month. So we have the whole month left, and I'm sure that you're going to see that we have an amazing team, and I'm very proud of them, because without them, nobody could do anything here, and we have the best leaders. So thank you, thank you, thank you for being our leader, for showing us the way, for showing us the vision, and thank you for being with us. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Let's get it. Entre risas y heridas la vida se canta. Con un trago en la mano la pena se aguanta. Hoy brindo por todo, lo bueno y lo malo, por cada caída que me hizo más sabio, por noches sin sueño, por días de gloria. La vida me enseña su propia memoria. Un vaso en la mesa, amigos sinceros. El tiempo vuela pero el alma primero.
Un camino que quieras dar un paso al lado y decir, no, yo quiero otra cosa, yo quiero hacer algo más.
Sigo el camino, la fe me acompaña en cada destino, en parecer un mindset.
Cuando quieras, como quieras y donde quieras.
Derecho, brindemos la vida, con risas, con llanto, por sueños que siguen.
2 años me volví a enamorar, pero de la industria de Cincino.
Cada herida cura, el alma se adueña, brindemos la vida por lo que vendrá, aunque pese el mundo.
Hay como mínimo para ganar el paso 2, un punto.
Al final del todo, juntos a brindar, levanto mi copa por
¿Creen que pueden cambiar ellos su vida?
por nuevos sabores, por calles de piedra que guardan sudores y por ilusiones que nunca se esconden. Ranchera en la radio, fiesta encendida, Colombia me inspira, me apuesta a la vida. Aprendí que el lujo no compra destino.
Yo siempre trabajo 1 año como nadie quiere, para vivir el resto de la vida como nadie puede.
Me dieron la voz y la piel, un mapa de sueños pintados.
And listening to the teaching and the training, and new leaders are coming on board.
Tropiezo, la gloria se brinda, brindemos la vida.
Debemos elegir mucho más garantías.
Por lo tanto, el tiempo no vuelve, pero siempre enseña. Cada herida cura, el alma se adueña. Brindemos la vida por lo que vendrá. Aunque pese el mundo, mi voz sonará.
necesiten acompañar con esto para cambiar su vida. ¿Les parece bien? ¿Sí? ¿Me van a ayudar a todos?
Manos callosas en la frente en sudor, pero nunca faltó.
Primero lo hayáis integrado vosotros.
Rastro de historia, ancestros que hicieron caminos de gloria. Y aunque el dinero me
Y cuando tú sientes, conectas con la gente.
que me pierda, no soy intocable, no soy de hierro. También
Nos vamos a conquistar el mundo.
cada lágrima se vuelve canción y en cada palabra renace. Brindemos la vida con risas, con llanto, por sueños que siguen, por todo lo tanto. El tiempo no vuelve, pero siempre enseña. Cada herida cura, el alma se adueña. Brindemos la vida por lo que vendrá. Aunque pese el mundo, mi voz sonará con fuerza y con
Voy a compartir algo que cambió mi vida.
al final del todo.
Y les ha explicado que hay que remar todos en la misma dirección.
Agradezco a Dios todo lo que me ha dado, por cada victoria, por cada fracaso.
J'ai appris et d'évasion para poder llegar a ese sueño de peace.
Tormenta pasa, después llega calma. Real Billionaires Club, brindando sincero. No todo es riqueza, también lo austero. Si mañana muero.
Y estoy seguro que España va a ser uno de los países más grandes de Sencillo.
La vida me inspira, por ella brindamos en cada mentira. Aunque el destino me juegue su trampa, sigo cantando, mi copa levanta. Que el tiempo no frene, que siga el camino, que el alma resista, que nunca termine. Risas y penas se beben igual. La vida es un tango, la vida es brutal. Pero entre sombras brilla